Page building in Webflow empowers team members with the marketer role to quickly create campaign pages, event pages, product pages, and more, all while staying on brand. Using pre-built components, they can start from a blank page or a static page template to build with flexibility and control. This enables marketing teams to launch new pages with speed and confidence, while giving designers peace of mind knowing their teammates can create independently without breaking the site or straying from the design system. So in this video, we'll show you how to set up page building so you can set your marketers up for success. First, we'll start as a designer and cover some best practices when setting up your components. Next, we'll create a static page template and set it up for marketers. And finally, we'll switch over into the marketer's view and show how a marketer would build pages using a page template and the pre-built components. Let's get started with our components. These will be the main building blocks for our marketers. So before handing things off, we want to make sure our components are configured properly for marketers to easily identify and use. A best practice is to set up each component as a distinct section of your site, such as a hero section, nav bar, footer, or a CTA section with a form. That way, when a marketer starts building, all they need to do is choose the blocks they want to make up their page. Another note is to make sure to create and connect properties to elements that you want the marketer to edit. This is super important because then they can independently edit the content using the component properties you've made. And just to make things neater, organizing and grouping your properties can make them easier to identify for your marketer. And you can use component slots so that marketers can place components inside other components, giving your marketers even more flexibility while still staying within your design system. And finally, make sure to clearly name each component, so the purpose of each component is clear to anyone and makes sense for your team. You can even organize your components in groups and give each component a description to provide some more context. And these are just a few things to keep in mind, but the main idea is to set your marketer up for success so that they can quickly and easily build landing pages on their own. Now that we've covered our components, let's move on to setting up a static page template. Now remember, marketers can start from a blank static page. It'll contain one page slot for them to build whatever layout they want from the components made by the designer. However, starting from a static page template is often more efficient, especially when creating recurring page types like event landing pages, product or feature pages, or paid campaign pages. And as the designer, you can set this up however you want. So over in the Pages panel, let's create a new page, but more specifically, a static page template. We can give it a name and description. Ideally, we want to write something that will provide context for what this template should be used for. And once we're done, we can click Create. Now we can start setting up our page template. For starters, let's say we want to make sure this page will always have a nav bar and a footer. So from our Components panel, let's grab the navigation component and drag it onto the canvas. And let's do the same thing with our footer component, but at the bottom because, well, footer. And because this page template is specifically for events, let's add the Events Hero section so this will always be included. Next, we need to indicate where a marketer can place components, and we can do that with page slots. Page slots act like div blocks, and they indicate to marketers where they can put components. Let's drag in a page slot, and we want to make sure it's between the hero section and the footer, because that's where we want the page's main content to be. And because page slots act like div blocks, we don't need any styling to this, because it'll be sized by the content inside. Additionally, to speed things up, we could add components inside the page slot so the marketer can choose to keep or delete them from their page. But for now, let's leave it empty and let them choose what to use. So we're done with the static page template. Finally, let's show how a marketer would build. So let's switch gears to a marketer role. Hang on. There we go. Now, I'm an event marketer and I've been assigned the marketer role. And my goal is to create a new event page for this company's upcoming webinar. And because I have the marketer role, I can't move or style anything the way a designer can. I can edit any static content, just like content editors can do, but I can also build pages, and that's what I'm going to do. So over here in the Pages panel, I'll start by creating a new page. And for this example, I'll start from a static page template. I'll give it a name and then click Create. Now I've created a new page from this template, and right off the bat, I can see the page slot on the canvas. This is where I can add components. So let's do that. First, I'll add a speaker section and we'll edit its content later. Then I'll add a CTA section, and all I'm doing here is just clicking and dragging components I need onto the page. I can even use the navigator here for extra precision. And notice how I cannot add components underneath the footer or above the Events Hero component. That's because, as a marketer, I can add components inside page slots, not outside of them. But I can still select components outside the slot and adjust their properties in the right-hand panel. And for any components that include component slots, I can even add components inside of them. Lastly, I can edit any editable static content, even if it was here before, and I can also change the component properties to better align with this specific event. And just like that, I've completed building out this whole page using the components and static page template that the designer set up. So now everything is consistent with the rest of the site and its branding. I can send this page for my team to review, or if I have permission to publish, I can even publish this site for the world to see my new page. Real quick, there are a few things to keep in mind as a designer to set your marketers up for success. The moment new pages are created from static page templates, those pages are detached and are completely different pages. This means that changes to a static page template do not affect pages that were created from that template. So as a designer, if you make any content or structural changes to a static page template, be sure to review and update all pages previously made from that template before you publish. Lastly, if you're editing a component and you remove a property on a component, even if a marketer has changed the content on that property along with all changes to that property throughout the site will be removed. So keep that in mind as you're editing components and consider communicating with your team ahead of time. And that's it. Let's quickly recap how to use page building. As a designer, you want to create a clear and organized component library since they serve as the building blocks for your marketers to use when building pages. Next, you can create and set up static page templates with page slots for marketers to speed up the process. And finally, users with the marketer role can build pages from scratch or static page templates by adding components to page slots and component slots, and even edit content on new static pages. And that's page building in Webflow.